times are sweet. Sometimes it's not for days. The people I meet always go their separate ways. Sometimes you tell the day by the bottle that
Welcome to Houses of Rock. This is the first episode in a very exciting series we're starting. We're going to start going around the United States for the foreseeable future, going to unique temples like the Hollywood Bowl. We're going to go to Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee. But first, I have to start in my hometown of South Florida in a very, very unique, important, and a rare jewel of music in the United States, and that is Revolution Live in Fort Lauderdale. It is really a jewel. It is, whenever I come here to a show, it just has a special pizzazz that can't be described. It's a spectacular place to catch a show. And we're honored to welcome the CEO of Damn Good Hospitality Group, Jeff John, here with us. How you doing, Jeff?
How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for being part of this.
I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the interest and your kind words on our establishment.
No, absolutely, Jeff. So, before we get started, obviously we're shooting this late May. Wanted to ask you, how have the past, 3 months been for you as a business leader in the community with all your, with everything you do for us in Fort Lauderdale? How have the past been? How has it been for you?
It's been a curveball for sure. Lead the pack by saying that nobody really saw this coming. We were very blessed to be where we're at. We were doing very great. First quarter of this year was incredible in South Florida. From New Year's to the Super Bowl, concerts, events, parties. We give it to our staff and everybody that's here was doing such a great job.
Sure.
And then one day it just stopped.
Yeah.
So. What can we do? You can't just sit here and cry and, say, poor me. And so we've been active. I was asked to be on the mayor of Fort Lauderdale, Dean Trantalis, on his task force of reopening Fort Lauderdale in a safe and efficient manner. So I've had the privilege of doing that, and they've gotten to phase 1 now. But for us, it's been tough because our we have big business in terms of bigger rooms. Revolution Live is, even though in a concert facility, it's small at 1,300, but 1,000, 1,300. But we're still, in terms of COVID, it's very large. So
Sure.
Unfortunately, at our property here, we took it upon ourselves to close early. We didn't wait for a mandate. We didn't wait for the city to tell us to close. You could say we saw the writing on the wall, and we knew we were a big establishment, and the community is our employees, the community, and the families around are what we're here for. So, when we really sat down and said, what are we going to do? The first thing is safety and protection of our people.
Sure.
And as a big venue, I took it. It was a hard decision, but we took the decision to close.
Yeah.
And I actually closed our restaurants. We closed everything. We closed here, I think, March 14th. And then we closed the restaurants on the 15th and 16th, respectively. But with that said, we were blessed to get back open. Both our restaurants, we shut down for about 2 weeks or so to regroup and get our game plan together, get products in place, and get safety procedures in place. And then we did reopen. I think we opened at the end of March, the beginning of April. We reopened Green Bar and Kitchen here in Fort Lauderdale. It's been doing great. And then we opened CWS Bar and Kitchen in Lake Worth. We put some programs together to help the first responders, in particularly some of the hospitals and their staff, the police department, the fire department. I know the staff here, Billy and the staff, and Renee and Jared and Scotty have been putting everybody in place here in Fort Lauderdale, delivering food. We're having hours where people can come in and we'll feed them for free feed them on the house and our heart goes out to these people that put themselves in harm's way to protect us. And they're their work every day, knowing that they're in harm's way, and there's something to be said about that. So we're it's been a tough 3 months, but we're going to get through it. And again, thanks to our staff, thanks to our families around the community. We do have a 4COP liquor license here. So one of our businesses, we're pretty big into whiskey. So it was really a blessing that Brian, we do sell some stuff. We have, Brian helped create the Whiskey Society, and it's really grown. And, we buy all these barrels of whiskey, and right before the COVID came in, we had like 3 or 4 barrels come in. So we were very fortunate and blessed to have the ability to get our online liquor store going. So Stash Liquors, we operate on Wednesday and Fridays through the COVID, and been selling our great.
You didn't drink it throughout the.
Yeah, I had to try it, make sure it was okay. But it was fun. So again, thinking out of the box, what can we do to stay alive? What can we do to feed our employees and make sure we've kept everybody pretty much on here, and awesome. through this transition or through this impact time, and it was a curveball. I guess that's the biggest thing to say is curveball out of left field.
That's awesome.
So.
And before we move to the venue real quick, you're obviously a philanthropic and business leader in the community, like you said. Want to go back to your roots real quick. You grew up in Illinois. Tell us about your passion for music. How did it start growing up? Just tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Sure. Yeah, childhood grew up in northwest suburb of Chicago, Barrington, about 35 miles northwest of the city. And one great thing about growing up in the city is and having great parents that took us to stuff and exposed us to these things where there was a lot of stuff to do. So I was a big athlete growing up. I played sports all year round. So I think music, as you see today, how prevalent it is in the sports world.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's an ex-gamer or a Olympian now that rides anything without in the year. So I thought I always loved to play, sports, listening to music, or we'd play basketball on the patio every night with the guys in the neighborhood, and music blaring. And we also had, we were privileged to have a venue like similar to Cruisin' Amphitheater, Palm Beach Amphitheater in South Barrington. It was Poplar Creek, and Poplar Creek was very similar, probably 12,000, I would say 10 to 12,000, but it had the lawn. So every summer, just in our town, Tom Petty, Ziggy Marley, like some of all those kind of nostalgic bands of the '80s.
I saw Huey Lewis in like '98 or something.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, Poplar Creek went away in I would probably say 98, 99, right around there, 2000. But that gave us the ability to see music, and our parents used to drop us off there, and it was safe back in the day, so we used to run around the amphitheater, and I guess that was one of the outlets we did when we weren't playing sports. We love music, so I guess I was fortunate to grow up with a great group of guys and girls that we had great friendships, a lot of people, and we used to do fun stuff, and music was one of the biggest things. But again, tying sports into music, I think was huge, and I always had, I could never play it, but I guess that's why I love it so much listening to it, because I can't play it.
Right.
So
that's great. So this building, beautiful building, was built in 1974.
No.
It wasn't.
This building was built in 1924.
Oh, even crazier. Okay, so what were some of the original uses of the building back then? Jesus, almost 100 years old.
It's just about 100 years old.
Yeah.
Well, all right, I'll give you the best of the ability here. It started out. This was obviously built in the 20s. One thing you have to realize: the train tracks were there. So this was a slaughterhouse. It started out as a meat factory. I shouldn't probably say slaughterhouse, meat factory. Let's say that. Okay, a little better. Yeah. This was a meat factory in the 1920s. then in World War II, for all you history fans out there, South Florida was a very, very epic place for the war. Churchill and Roosevelt met down here. South Florida is a big port. So the U.S. Army, this was an armory during World War II. You can see the train tracks right out there. So that's why these walls behind this Great Shepherd Ferry wall is a 14-inch poured reinforced concrete wall. This place is a bunker. Yeah. So in case I take it in case there was a problem in here, it didn't escape. So it was an armory through the war. I kind of lost track, and I guess after the war through 70s. Okay. Up to the 70s, and it was a famous club called Backstreets in the late 70s. And Backstreets really was the whole block out here. And then after Backstreets, it was one of the biggest parties, I guess. It was before my time, but there's a day go by that people don't remember Backstreets or were here. So that really kind of, because it was an alternative crowd, it was so popular. It was, again, from my recollection, all the women came here, so it just turned into a really epic party, and then that transformed into the Edge. Yes. And people that were from here remember the Edge. The Edge is really where raves started, right? I mean, I think Fort Lauderdale was the first town to come out with the anti-rave laws, but I mean, it was, again, a little bit before my time back then, but this was a significant venue in the role of EDM and dance music and the late night partying and that kind of stuff. And then that morphed into the Chili Pepper, and Chili Pepper had a quicker, I would say, dirtier vibe. Yeah. The Edge was still very cool and hip. I think the Chili Pepper, it started to really go the other way. Yeah. And when we took this property over in like 2001, it was pretty bad. Okay. And I was going to ask you about that. So then you got in 2001. You opened it in 2004. 2004. So it was in pretty bad shape when you. It was when we took over the building. It actually was condemned. Yeah. There was a lot of problems with this building. So we put a lot of work into it in terms of the electric, the plumbing, the structure, the guts of the building. So that's kind of when we came in here. That's what we did. We did a big renovation in terms of the structure, the guts of this facility. And then you opened it, and in the next couple of years was one of the most active hurricane seasons that South Florida has had. Brutal. Par for the course, right? So that was open up within a year. We got hit with Wilma and Katrina back to back. I've never, thank God, I've never had to be in war. But as somebody that's seen history classes and read literature and stuff, you see what cities look like after a war. When I came down Broward Boulevard, it looked like a boom. There were windows shattered, light poles were down, trees. It was, and I had a truck, and I was in Delray with some friends, and that last band I shot down here because I was a year in opening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my investment's here. I got to get down there. Yeah. And I was probably one other man met me here. My guy Harvey, God bless him, Harvey. He was the only guy, and then about an hour later, people people creep out from, you see a person here or there, but it literally was scary because it literally like, it was destroyed. Wow. You couldn't imagine that the storm and what the city looked like, just Broward Boulevard. It was, so it was tough. So we got ourselves back on our feet after that, and we created America's Backyard. Yeah. And that was kind of our resurgence of getting out, spending more money, building another concept, and coming out with that. So that kind of was, and then the recession.
That's epic. Well, but ever since then, though, the musical history in this place has been uphill. Sure. I mean, Katy Perry's been here before she hit it big. You know, you've had all sorts of bands, really. You know, legends before they started. Paramore,
Lady Gaga,
Katy,
Gaga, Paramore. That's a great story because as Adam Shankman, the director of Rock of Ages, said, he held some focus groups prior to doing the movie. Yeah. And craziest
story. For
story.
those that don't know, Rock of Ages is the Adam Shankman movie, 2012, 2013.
Correct.
With Tom Cruise and Alec Baldwin, and it's a great movie.
Zeta-Jones
and the West Hollywood Bourbon Club.
That's right.
Was filmed in Revolution.
Pretty much most of it was filmed in here.
It looks spectacular. So sorry, just wanted.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to the point is he held some focus groups with some artists to get some ideas, and out of all people, he said Haley Williams, after the presentation, Haley Williams grabbed him and said, "You need to go to Revolution Live in Fort Lauderdale." He got on a plane, flew here, and that was it. Never even met the man. I walked in, he's like, "You're Jeff." I said, "You're Adam." He's like, I said, "Is that story real?" He goes, "You know why we're here, right?" I said, "Is that real?" He's like, 100%. So it's kind of funny. So I give a lot of credit to her. It was fantastic that she remembered our place. It's just unbelievable.
Oh, sure.
Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, you know, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco back in the day, John Legend. Yeah. You know, that's the beauty of some of this, is that you get to see the bands that come through here in their infancy stage, because we are a smaller room. So obviously they don't all go, but you get to see the ones that do. It's kind of in their infancy stage.
Sure. And it also has some historical, maybe they're not talked about it as much, but Scott Weiland's last South Florida performance was right here. I was in the bar stool right there watching it. When who would have thought what would have happened? But marked in history, right? So. What do you remember about that month of shooting of Rock of Ages? Obviously, you know, I think it was like a whole June.
It was. That's good.
That you guys closed.
That's
and,
good.
What do you remember about that period?
Chaotic. Learning what it's like, what that's like, and a lot of moving parts. You know, when you're dealing with Hollywood, it's a different. But you know, one of the things that was cool, I did by doing the deal, I made sure anyone of our staff that wanted to participate in the movie got an opportunity to participate in the movie. Very cool. I thought that was pretty cool. That if they wanted to be an extra or be in some scenes, they had the ability to do that. So
that's a nice.
That's pretty cool. The staff got a kick out of it.
Yeah,
you know, and it brought us some notoriety, I think. And you know, there was a lot of tension with the press and Tom Cruise and Shane. You know, so there was a lot of activity around the area for a couple days.
They made the place look really something. I remember the bars had like braziers from
sure. We kept it. We kept some of it too.
Oh,
you know, we kept the bras and the lingerie over by the bar. And what else did we keep? We kept the backdrop from the Bourbon Club for a little while. Okay. You know, they kept the backdrop, and there were a couple little things that we kept around. You know? It was kind of funny.
That's cool, Jeff. So. What are a couple of musical moments that did you experience here that you just have to stop on your tracks and you're just like, wow, this is a special moment? You know, something that just sticks out at you.
Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
Probably the best. Yeah. Nicest guy, like
awesome.
Sick performance. Just to have a guy of that nature that on our stage, was really cool. We had Tribe Called Quest. Those guys were fantastic, and to see those three, they were all, come back and rock it for a night. That was awesome. That was really very cool. Of course, for me, being from Chicago, Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah, we were very blessed when they did a couple venue tour. We had a night here, and I know Billy has a lot of family, in South Florida. So I think he had about 75 to 100 family members here, and he had a little niece that he brought up, a little beautiful baby girl that, and I just remember the manager or the tour manager, somebody's like, "This is the happiest, we've seen." It was just great, and the show was great. To see family come together, and to have them here was that was pretty cool.
That's
That was
awesome.
pretty
Jeff.
cool.
So yeah, I mean, you've been just so generous with your time. Just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technology here that is the typical fan doesn't see. You've invested mightily in tech, $1 million renovations. What are some of the technology aspects that make the sound, the lights so spectacular here that people don't know?
I'll tell you what it is. This guy right here, this guy Johnny right here. This is the guy that makes the magic happen. It's not the tech, it's the people that run the tech. So that's our lighting director right there, Johnny. He's the best. And I give the hats off to the guys that run the technology. That's who the hands off should be to.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome, Jeff. Just want to ask you, obviously, you know, the live industry music is gonna come back. If nothing stopped it, a world wars, recession, it's gonna come back. Right now, it's in a pause. What can people do to support the venue, to support the live music industry going forward when it comes back?
Yeah, I think right now, from a standpoint of staying connected on social media, staying connected to the news that we're putting out of here. Our marketing director Heidi's doing a great job of uploading and staying current on social and providing some updates when we get them. I think we're probably looking at some virtual gigs as well, and some streaming. But I would say stay connected to the socials and join the revolution.net, and we'll keep you posted.
Jeff, thank you so much for your time. You're a very busy and successful entrepreneur. I appreciate your cooperation with our first episode. I just want to welcome everybody to Revolution Live when they come to South Florida. Obviously, I'm biased, but this is a special place. The sound is outstanding. There's not a bad viewing spot, and there's really something magical here that happens when rock and roll starts to happen. So everybody, come to Revolution, and thank you, John.
And I would always like to add one thing. If I didn't mention, I always like to mention. I always give credit to my partner, Live Nation, who's been a great partner to me and supported me over the years, and probably wouldn't be here today without them. And great friendship with Charisse. So I appreciate